you ready to stop overworking and start overflowing? Today on Awaken and Ascend, I've brought in Kristi H. Sullivan. She is a human design and self-care expert who's going to share her inspiration for her chapter, The Freedom to Be Me, in her co-authored book, The Ultimate Guide to Leaving Your Legacy. You know, when we want to be able to have that freedom to be ourselves, to be able to stop overworking, we need to create that spaciousness, right? To really be ourselves. And that's what Kristi is here to inspire everyone to do, to really stop the overworking so that we can start overflowing in success, in wealth, and in just the freedom to live our best life by design. Welcome, Kristi. I am so excited for you to be here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, especially when we get into topics like freedom and overworking and just being in our flow and being able to leave our legacy as well, right? And really talk about becoming a living legacy, being a role model, essentially, in how we embody all of what we share, all of what we talk about. And this show is really about that, being able to self-actualize, to realize that our journey is here for us in a way that we can live our best life, and also through serving others through the work that we do. And I know before a co-authored book, you authored your own book. So why don't we start there? What was the inspiration for that? And what was that one all about?
Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that. Yeah, the book that I produced in 2021, I have a copy here. It's Stop Overworking and Start Overflowing. And it's 25 ways to transform your life using human design. What inspired it is that I had heard about human design, which is a tool that helps explain your energy blueprint, how each of us are wired energetically. I learned about it in 2017. And fast forward, I started to do readings and teach human design. And I found there were a lot of technical books about human design, but I was so blown away by not only how my story unfolded with learning about my human design and how it transformed my life, but I would hear from people either when I was doing a reading or from others who had learned about human design elsewhere. I would just hear these amazing stories of like, wow, knowing this information has really validated who I am, has helped confirm things and helped me grow even more authentically on my journey. So I decided to reach out to, and I didn't know very many people who were actually teaching human design, although they were out there, but personally, I didn't know them. So I went on social media and started to connect to others. And I ended up bringing together 25 authors, similar to the book that we are in, a collaborative book for everyone to tell their story of how they discovered human design and what it changed for them.
Oh, okay. All right. And what do you love so much about human design? I know you mentioned that it offers a blueprint and we get to build on that blueprint and discover more
Yeah.
about ourselves. What really stood out for you when you really went into it?
Well, let me first say a little background just in case any of your listeners don't know what human design is, so to speak. It's probably a fairly new tool, but it's based on some ancient philosophies, including the Kabbalah, the I Ching, or I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, and also astrology. So it is really a blueprint that is based on your time of birth, and it's very specific. So what I noticed when I learned about human design, or what it did for me, was it gave me the permission to really be in the energy that is much more natural for me, that I didn't have to start to or continue to follow the blueprints or formulas that other people would tell us to follow, whether it was in business or in our careers or in how we learn and schooling and parenting and relationships. I really became much more aware of how I was showing up, what was very much more authentic to me. And it helped me, I think, to really tweak some of those formulas or to make it my own and to honor too that everyone has their own formula. So maybe how I show up in my relationship, my husband is his own blueprint. How I show up in my business, my clients have their own blueprint, that we're really not meant to like all follow the same formula, to operate the same way, and that our energy is sort of this GPS for us to understand how to navigate life and how to make choices.
Yeah, that GPS, right? Just being able to set the direction and then we just let it go. We can release, we can just follow that. And I'm curious how that opened up the space and freedom to really be you.
Yeah, and I write about this in the book that has just come out about the legacy and this idea. I love that you said, it's a living legacy. It's like,
Mhm.
how do we become the biggest, best, most authentic, again, expression of who we are? I mean, we don't have to be perfect, but we can be perfect to what we need to be.
Mm.
And I think that human design gives you the clues to lean more into that. And it's much more of like a freedom. It's what I found was the clues helped me to, like you just said, like let go of some of the things that I was doing to, for example, try to work hard and be successful in terms of how productive I was and how much money I'm making or how many hours I'm working to make that money. Like I had this calling before I even found human design, that things I felt just needed to be different in my life, that the way I was trying to make things work in my career in particular, that was one area, it just wasn't working out easily. It wasn't creating more money because I was putting in more time and effort. And to be honest, like I think the time and effort I was putting in was not, in terms of human design, lighting me up, lighting up my energy in the way that it needed to be, for me to optimize and be most authentic. So that's the freedom. It's like giving you the permission to let go of what's not serving you, and also to let go of these ideas and even programming that we've been conditioned with, and allow us to open that space of possibilities that we haven't even thought of that will lead us to the success that we're really looking for.
And how exciting is that, right? To all the possibilities and being open to that is key. It literally is the key to being able to live our best life, the best life that is possible for us, right? To really embody and step in to that potential. And there's so much energy and passion that comes into that. And I find with visionaries, which is much of our audience and the people that I work with, that's what creates the greatest impact, that energy and that passion. And it's like I
Yes.
shared in chapter 5 of our book, in the ultimate guide of leaving your legacy, was all about leading with that passion and lighting the path to profound impact and collective transformation. And I share in there how I came across what passion actually meant for me. And when you break up the word, it's pass I on. That I being your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. And so I hear what you're saying and how human design can actually help us delve deeper into what that I is, right? What is it exactly that we're here to pass on? How do we discover that? And I know in your book, there's like 25 ways to be able to do that. And there's, I mean, human design is really in depth. And like you say, across the several disciplines, it's been around way longer than we think. Even the gates and the channels in there correspond with the gene keys, which, is also like ancient wisdom. So I love how all these practical insights and tools are joining together with the ancient wisdom to really help us integrate a higher consciousness model of living, essentially, is what
Yeah.
it comes down to. And so, going from this overworking to overflowing, what is the transition that needs to take place there?
Well, I also want to just say that you said something I think really important, which
Mm.
is that, your chapter speaks about something, and I love that acronym and how you break down that word passion. And so if you read your chapter, for example, and then um, something about human design, that the two can complement each other because
Oh, yeah.
we're all, especially in this book and with the audience, I know that is listening, that we're all on this personal growth journey
Yeah.
and taking the bits from different perspectives and different people really can help mold, I think, the more of the journey that you, the listener, is on because it's not one person's way again. So you asked about like over going to the overflow. Um, Part of the overworking and in human design, this really is defined by what we call the energy types.
Mm.
There are different ways that our energy wants to express. And to be honest, most people, if you just looked at your energy type, we are trying to operate in a way of initiating and making something happen and forcing something or, go after it and make it happen. Just do it, like Nike says. Much of our energy, though, is better suited and used when we are in response to something, whether that be the right opportunity, an invitation that comes, a creative download that comes. And it's like we are waiting with bated breath, as one of my mentors has said in the past, with bated breath for something is coming, and that's going to be my next stepping stone. I don't have to go manufacture the stepping stone. The action is
Mm.
going to take place, but it's when the right timing and the right thing shows up. And that's where I feel like when we step out of that working, overworking, pursuing, initiating, and we lean more into trust,
Mm.
into knowing who we are and when um, we will be ready to say yes to the right opportunity, invitation, or time to do something. That's really important because that's us managing, in a way, our energy so that we're more in that flow state. And that flow state doesn't mean that things don't come up unexpectedly and that we don't have responsibilities like paying the bill, sometimes taking care of aging parents or children, but we are more in tune with, I'm not going to say yes to everything. I'm going to make sure it's the right thing for me. That's another part of human design is the decision making intuitiveness that you have in you to say yes and be more in flow rather than forcing.
Yeah, 100%. And from that, I find that we can really achieve then an authentic state of grace. Because when we conform to those old methods, other people's methods, other blueprints and formulas that we may have known up until the point of human design or discovering other ways of getting to know ourselves and what that blueprint actually is, that conform is equal to perform in the way that
Yes.
I see it, right? Through that lens. And it's performing, and overperforming and, trying to meet those expectations or those standards that may necessarily be our own and end up saying yes and no to things that don't actually align with who we truly are and what's meant for us. And that's how we end up depleted and drained and spent and just leaking out all that energy and our power where we get caught up in stress and powerlessness rather than really feeling into the ease and empowerment that comes from truly being authentic and living in a state of grace that is aligned completely with who we truly are, right? And human design sounds like an amazing tool
Yes.
to have in our arsenal as we go
Yes.
upon our journey of self-realization and find out who we are and what we came here to do and become the person we can't came here to be, but also to stand strong in our convictions and have the courage to do that as well. And so what do you see in your work? Because I know there's many people that, may have come across their human design that may have gotten their blueprint and not really understand any of it, right? So, because it looks a little intimidating, it's like, what does all of this mean? So, I know they're coming to you. What kind of questions are they coming to you with? What have you seen people move through in their lives as a result of understanding their human design?
Yeah, and one of my specialties I love is to help people who are new beginners to understand it from an easy way because it can be so complex. There's so much to your human design, so many elements. It's like looking at an astrology chart. To me, still sometimes I'm confused by what does this symbol mean and that. So actually, in the chapter, I laid out a tool called the Human Design Checklist.
Oh,
And it's to help people who are beginners understand what should I look at first. And there are three elements that are really important that if you just spend most of your time understanding it, implementing it, experimenting with it, these three things can really create a huge transformation. And that is your energy type,
hmm,
the strategy for your energy, meaning what is your energy? How does it operate? And what's the best way to like optimize that? And then the third is the decision making. And I mentioned that already a little bit that we have this place in our blueprint in us to help guide us and navigate that GPS that we have that really comes from the inside wisdom rather than the thinking brain. So
oh,
those three things, it's called the energy, the strategy, and the authority. And then some other elements in the chart, and just to help people understand what they are and what to do with what's the profile, what are those channels and gates that you mentioned. So I give this quick checklist, and I really always encourage people to, go one layer at a time. There is so much
mm,
to it. And I do get people sometimes saying like, I want to learn more. Can I, dive into the rabbit hole? And I always encourage them to like, there's different yoga teachers. There's people doing human design and sharing it, teaching it in many different ways. So it's always great to like get an array of those perspectives. But I always think starting at the beginning and then going down that road can be really helpful. And when it's overwhelming, to just go back to those three things, the energy, strategy, and authority.
oh, awesome. That's so helpful. And I know we've mentioned the book several times. So anyone who's listening and ears are pricked up about how do I get this book, we're definitely going to have the link in the show notes. So just look below there in the description. You mentioned about decision making, though, Kristi, and that's a big one because a lot of people just don't have the clarity or even time to even think about what the right decision could be, right? Or have lost trust in themselves or in others to be able to make those decisions. So, how wonderful is it that the answers and the way that we can make decisions is right there in the book, like right there in our human design to
Yeah.
actually have that clarity, I think makes such a huge difference. So if it's like the one thing even that would be helpful is like, how do I even make a decision? Then that's available in there too.
Yeah, and I can speak to that a little bit more because one of the ways that we really need to get more back in touch, I would say, with that innate decision making, it's something we were born with that was present, but we often, with conditioning and programming and experiences in life, what we're taught, how we are taught to learn and get tested in school and remember things and use our heads and be really good with the intellect, but that starts to separate us from that more natural innate wisdom, or for some people it may really disconnect them. So it's really important that, again, that's part of the experiment when you learn your human design, is to get back in touch with, if you're what's called sacral authority, how does that gut feeling sense in you when you're faced with an opportunity. Do you want this? Yes. Or do you not want this? No.
Mm,
If you're an emotional authority, it's about again, that inner feeling of this is right for me or maybe not. And
mm,
then there's a couple of others that again are all senses in the body. For me, it feels like you feel lit up, like your energy suddenly is like magnetized, like, yes,
mm,
this opportunity is for me. Now, again, we sometimes have to say yes to things, but it's the big things we want to be sure we are not saying yes because we have to or out of responsibility, but this is going to be those life-changing things when we say yes because our energy is lit up. It's going to lead us down the right path or the path that we need to take.
mm. The path that you speak of to success and wealth and the freedom to be ourselves and
And the
to get into
legacy.
that overflowing state. And yes, leave our legacy. Absolutely. So, what if people do want to connect with you and they have some questions now? You want to find out more about your work? How can they connect with you?
Thank you. I would love to connect I have a website that you can run your free chart, your human design chart, also book readings with me and get more info at hdwithkristi.com. But I also have a very active Facebook group called Kristi's Human Design and Self-Care Community. And so I would love to meet people there and just get to know you as well as you get to learn about human design.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I absolutely love being able to connect with the audience with support and resources. So you'll find those links below. If you're tuning in right now, you'll see them in the description too. Highly recommend that you do join the community or check out Kristi's website. Check out your human design chart and notice what you discover. And maybe it'll bring something up for you, some validation, even of things that you already know, because it likely is something that's so innate in you that just rises up when you even connect with your human design. Chrissy, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience today?
I think that, just knowing that we are in a period of time right now where so much is evolving. So I
Mhm.
love that you do this podcast and show, Jennifer, because I think all the topics are really relevant right now. And just to, connect not only with us, but with each other, because we are all helping each other to rise and to move forward in this ever changing world. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I appreciate you, Christy. Thank you so much for all the insights that you shared with us. Again, all the links to the books and Christy's websites, my websites are all going to be in the show notes. I so appreciate each and every one of you that have been tuning in to this episode of Awaken and Ascend. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up or maybe share it with a friend who may also be interested. And then we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.